Good evening, everybody. Just waiting for some people to come on. We've got top motocross rider on tonight, Jeff Stanton, AMA six-time champion, 3 times Motocross Des Nations winner. Takes a little while for Facebook to tell everybody that we're live. Yeah, there's been a bit of sad news this week, and I think it was last week or the week before. Sadly, Badger Brian Goss passed away, so our condolences go out to his family. A British legend, right character, real nice guy, and I actually was going to do an interview with him, and I spoke to him a few weeks ago, so it's really sad for everybody, and like I say, especially his family. It would have been a great interview, and obviously Joel Robert passed away, so we postponed this interview with Jeff in respect of Joel, a total legend of the sport. But I done a little VT, and I'm one of these people. Legends never die; they live forever. So that's the way I look at life, anyway. But I would get on with the show because there's some people watching. You know how it goes. We start with a bit of a VT, bit of motocross, what the person's done, etc. So it go on for a few minutes, but that's what we love. We love the sport. So I've just got to find the video because, yeah, I'm a bit of a what's it called, producer as well, whatever. But anyway, I have to produce the stuff. Cheers, guys. Enjoy the show.
It didn't take long for the rivalry within the Honda team to heat up once again. Jean-Michel Bayle coming in after heat 1, skidding his bike on the cement, leaving it on the ground in disgust. Stanton and Bayle retired to their side-by-side trailers in silence. Mechanics were busy readjusting the machine for the semis. Then it was drops,
and the gate will too, and we'll be underway with the series finale. The charge to turn 1. Let's see who gets out front. Bradshaw did not get a great start. There's a tangle back in the pack. Stanton grabs the lead. Bradshaw is 4th. Ahead of him, Guy Cooper and Brian Swink battle for the 2nd spot. Stanton is in position right now to clinch the championship. And Mike semi-finals. So they didn't have great spots on the gate, but they got good starts. And Cooper, who was phenomenal in the semi, now challenges Stanton, who is in position, if this race ended right now, to win the championship. He's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Well, and so is Bradshaw. Now, both Kidrowski and
here tonight. It would be a long shot for him to win the championship, but he hasn't gotten up there to mix it up with anybody yet. And Stanton has pulled away from Cooper. Jeff has dug down deep here tonight, and we're going to go back and take a look at the start and see how Damon still stuck in 4th spot. Out front, let's talk about Jeff Stanton. He is riding magnificently.
You can talk us. This is not the same Stanton we have seen for the past couple of weeks. Boy, the pressure doesn't seem to be bothering him at all. Now, here comes Bradshaw. He hats off to him. He's doing a heck of a job.
We watched Jeff Stanton. I thought he had surrendered the championship at San Jose when he let Bradshaw catch him from behind and run him down. He has come back tonight doing exactly what he's got to do. That's the Jean-Michel Bayle. Danny Bentley frantically signaling to lap riders, get out of my man's way. And his man is Jeff Stanton, number 2, who is less than a lap away from a 3rd Supercross champion.
Well, the white flag is out, signifying 1 lap remaining, and Dave, the fat lady, is about to sing.
I would know.
You asked me at the outset of the program for a forecast who was going to win, and I said to you, Stanton is going to win it in a walk. Remember?
The way I remember it. I don't recall that prediction that way. He has done what he had to do by focusing on the objective. And now Stanton will come to the final checkered flag. Only his third of the season. Compare that to 9 for his rival. But consistency. He didn't crash it away. He rode consistently, and he is number 1.
Look at that. He raised his arm. He's going to park. He knows he has won it, but he's going to wait up there to see for sure. Look at that. Boy, is he happy or what?
This is the stone face. This is the guy who never shows any emotion. I guarantee you, this is the biggest moment in Jeff Stanton's life. Let's enjoy it with the crowd here in Los Angeles.
That was Dave Arnold.
Woo!
that was classic, wasn't it?
Yeah, I bet you never get fed up of watching that.
No, that was a fun day. It was just crazy how the whole day played out, to be honest with you.
Does that seem like a lifetime ago, Jeff?
It does, actually. That's showing our age.
Sadly.
What was going that day, Jeff? What was going through your mind? Because you had to win the race to win by about 2 points or 3 points for the championship. How did you keep your calm and ride so well?
There's lots of stories from that day, and so one of the stories is that I didn't even make it in the heat race. We had to go to the semi for that race, and so I rode like total dog poo in the heat, and rode okay in the semi race, and so it's like I was bummed out. I was riding terrible. The bike was just okay that day, and so we're at the LA Coliseum, and if you've ever been there, you know what it's like around the LA Coliseum. It's like danger zone. You step out of the Coliseum and it's like you're going to get shot any moment. So it's that bad. It was that bad there. And Davey Coombs, if he was listening, he'd smile at this, because so after the semi, I'm like, I just got to go air myself out. So I put my running shoes on, put my running stuff on, and I'm just going to go run for 20 minutes just to sweat it out, relax, because I loved running. And so I went out for a run, and I'm coming back, and Davey and a bunch of guys are walking up the street, coming back from where they went out to dinner or something. And they're like, Jeff, is that you? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just out for a run, just airing it out. They're like, the main starts in 10 minutes. I know, but I'm just going to air it out. So went up, lined up for the main, got a great start, and the rest was history. So it was a fun night. Just amazing how it played out, actually. Did
you talk to Damon immediately after that race, or was there
no? I'm sure that Yamaha and Damon didn't want to do any talking after that race. They had the T-shirts made up and the banners made up and everything at that point.
I've heard the story that they had the restaurant booked for the winning.
They did. They had it all dialed in. It was in the books, in their opinion.
No, amazing.
What because was it the first race you and JMB had a crash? Was that why he was so cheesed off when he came in the pits and threw his bike on the deck?
Yeah, exactly. We had tangled in the heat race, and so he was pissed off because I had roughed him up and didn't want to help at all. If you watch that main, he just kind of rode half-heartedly behind Damon because he didn't want to pass Damon to help me out, and so he did that a couple of times. Bless his heart.
Did you get on well with Jean-Michel Bell, or was there always a bit? Well, obviously, always going to be tension being teammates, but
absolutely always tension. But the biggest thing was the language barrier. We neither one of us went out of our way to talk to each other because of the language barrier and the French and American and teammates. And so now that we're big boys, we actually probably talk to each other more now than we ever did.
Absolutely. The thing was, you were young guys trying to win, a big title. Everything was on the line. Why would you want to be friends with somebody who could potentially beat you? I can totally understand that.
Absolutely.
What do you think about people today, Jeff? Because a lot of guys go out training together and riding together, and
I just don't see how they do it. I just saw a video today, in fact, while I was eating lunch with my wife, and I see Cooper Webb, Osborne, 3 or 4 of them, Wilson, they're all out there motoing together. I just couldn't have done it. I just couldn't have done that. I did my own thing. I was stubborn, grumpy, and I just couldn't practice with them every day and then go race them. Now
with any aggression.
Right. I mean, I get what KTM's done there with the whole training camp. It's in their best interest to keep them guys fit and keep them in one area and keep an eye on them. I get that whole program, but I just don't get riding and training together 4 days a week and then going and trying to bang bars and fight for $100,000 every weekend and $1.5 million championship throughout the season.
Jeff, you're sometimes quite vocal on social media. How do you cope with the armchair experts like me or anybody else that make totally ludicrous comments? There was one going this week that I saw you commented on, where the top 10 riders, and some of the guys on there, I don't think you were too enamored with.
You know what? I try not to respond to any of those, to be honest with you.
I've seen little likes and response. But, I mean, it must be difficult for some, anybody of your stature to try and hold back from that, because back in the day, unless somebody said that to your face, it would never happen. But now, with social media, everybody's got a voice.
Yeah, everybody can throw in their 2 cents. Like I said, I try not to throw in my 2 cents. Listen, everybody knows who the greatest riders in our history are, okay? And I think I commented that Stephen Everts was one of the most talented riders ever, okay? And because I truly feel, I mean, what he did over there and his riding style and his dominance, he was phenomenal. And and then you can't go wrong with Ricky and Ricky and McGrath as far as here, so. I know I'm not in the same playing field as those guys, but you just throw in
I beg to differ there, and I'm sure a lot of other people would.
Yeah. I got to be humble,
I was just about to say, obviously, before this interview, you do a bit of research, and I've been watching some of your videos and what you've done, and you pretty much beat everybody in the world. So it's like, you're not like a slouch, are you? You're up there with the rest of them, if you ask me.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. I try to keep humble, live a humble lifestyle, and appreciate everything I've done in the past and everything that I'm doing, and the people that are with me, doing what I'm doing now. So it's all good. It's all good.
Where did you get your riding style from, Jeff? Your mum or your dad?
100% my mom. So when we started racing in the early 70s, it was my mom and my older brother and myself, and Dad was just the mechanic. And so my mom won a couple of state championships here locally in the state, and we did it as family fun, enjoyed it as a family, and then it progresses on, goes from every weekend to amateur national championships to Loretta Lynn's, and same way the kids do it now. Just we did it back in the 80s.
What bike was your mum riding?
My mom, and I wished I had it to this day, because you want to talk about vintage. My mom had a 360 automatic Husky.
No.
Yeah, 100%. And that thing would be worth a mint right now and would be a blast to ride.
Did you ever get to ride it?
Oh, I rode it. Yeah, absolutely.
What was the auto like?
It was a big old Toad. You didn't have to shift it. It was 100% automatic. And so
no engine braking.
No engine brake. No. That's back when Husky was trying to make the debut in the motocross world, when they made a 125 and a 250. A buddy of ours had a 125 and a 250, and yeah, they'd be a highlight right now for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So was your mum riding before you started riding bikes, or did
no?
We
all started together when we was little kids. We all started together. They bought property up in northern Michigan, and we'd go up there where I'm doing my adventure stuff. We'd go up there and ride all the trails, and just would do it as family fun, and it then turns into serious, a few years down the road.
Yeah. So you just mentioned the adventure stuff. That's that's some sort of tie up with Triumph, isn't it?
It is. So it's been something that I've wanted to do for quite a few years. Michigan's just got beautiful trail systems. Beautiful. There's just so many beautiful things. All the lakes, all the rivers and streams, and we got more state land as far as recreational riding in Michigan than any other state, and it's still open. And so I've had this passion to do an adventure business, And let's face it, motocross industry right now is, if it wasn't for vintage racing and now adventure riding, we'd be in the tank. It's plain to see. I mean, you guys see it in Europe, and we're seeing it here. So I just thought, you know what, it's time to do the adventure thing. It's that 50, 65-year-old man that kind of followed the racing when we did, enjoys riding, but doesn't want to go out on a track, but would love to ride the trails and ride the 2-track roads and sit around and listen to stories and tell stories all night. And so it's led me to doing this.
So you will be actually leading the tours yourself?
Oh, 100%. Yep. I'll pick people up at the airport. I got a buddy that's helping me out doing, we'll be in the chase vehicle. So yeah, it's 100% myself. I put the whole program together. Actually, I got a call from Triumph, and Rod said, "Hey, I hear you want to do an adventure business." I'm like, "I do." He says, "Whatever it takes, we're in. We want to sell more adventure bikes in America. We're going to hire Jeff Stanton and Ricky Carmichael to promote our product." And so everybody's going to be riding Tiger 900s and hanging out with Jeff Stanton 3 days, 5 days, whatever you prefer. Absolutely.
Good bikes?
Oh, you know what? They are a blast to ride. They really, really are. And I'm not saying that because they're helping me out, but I've rode the African Twin, and it's a good bike as well. Honda's, same version, but they've done a great job on this bike. Super fun to ride. Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it does seem to be an emerging market. I know there's Dave Thorpe in England. He does the Africa Twin adventure schools, and I know the proper off-road side is pretty much catered for, over in California. But I think your thing will sit nicely on. Well, are you sort of East Coast? Because for anybody in Europe, you'd fly into Chicago, I guess, to get to you.
I would bring them into Chicago for sure. Yep, Chicago, and then Chicago to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids is about the center of the state. I'd pick them up there, and we'll just go an hour and a half north from there. I got a big house on the lake there. We'll be based out of there and just be riding in the national forest.
How far is that from Red Bud?
It's 2 hours from Red Bud.
Yeah, so anybody from Europe could make a pilgrimage to. Obviously, that Red Bud weekend, I guess it's going to be very busy. But if anybody wanted to go and see the track, that's the ideal time to see it. It's a famous track for us Europeans.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, my thought, Jeff, is right. Get married at your barn, and then if your wife's the wife you marries into bikes, and then you both go off on an adventure ride for a honeymoon. How good is that?
Absolutely. And listen, I'm catering to the husband and wives. I don't want the wives left out. We're going to have 350s for the wives to ride. And because that 50 to 65-year-old age group, the Harley thing's kind of dying. You see Harley's making an adventure bike now. Yeah. They're seeing that people are tired of riding on roads and getting their butts run over. And so really the adventure thing is really huge now in America. And so I want husband and wives involved. I want them to come, and I want them to customize their vacation. If they want to ride 50 miles, we'll ride 50 miles. If there's that diehard that wants to ride 200 miles a day, we'll ride 200 miles a day. There's nothing set in stone. You tell me what you want to do, and we'll do it. You want to go mountain biking one day, kayaking one day, pheasant hunting. I've got a menu of options, which nobody's ever done that. I feel that there's that 65-year-old man out there that doesn't want to ride 150, 200 miles 3 days in a row, that he wants to have, a cush day in between there. So yeah, you want to go to Lake Michigan, go on a fishing charter? Hey, let's do it. Let's go. It's all a part of the package.
I think as well as, as motocross fans, to go and ride with somebody like yourself for 3 or 5 days is just like absolute. It's a sort of money can't buy sort of experience for me. You're not going to be able to. There's loads of adventure things, but like 6 times a AMA champion, 3 times Motocross Des Nations winner, and then you get to go and ride with him for 3 or 5 days.
And all the stories that go with it.
That's right. All the stories that go with it. And listen, I'm keeping it small. I'm not doing 10, 15 person groups. I'm doing max 4 to 5. So I want it small. I want it personal. I want to sit around the campfire every night, cook steaks, tell stories, and go out on the boat, go fishing, and enjoy the time. I want them to leave Michigan going, dude, that was the best vacation ever, and go home, and word of mouth spreads the word, and it goes from there. So that's what I want to do.
Well, I tell you what, Jeff, we'll have a little commercial break. It's not a commercial break, but it's basically just to show the people what you're going to do up there.
Yeah, that looks good. That does look good. I just wish COVID would do one, because if we were back in the real world, I think your phone would be red hot. But maybe for the next few weeks, we just got to get through this, and then hopefully anybody from this country will be eager to come over here.
Yeah, and listen, I know, honestly, straight up, I believe that 70% of my market will come from Europe, just for the adventure, just to see Michigan. And so I realize that, and until, as we all know, the borders get opened up, we're going to continue to run with it. Actually, the bookings are going absolutely phenomenal, just with the American side. So I'm really pushing for the American side this year, and then fill in the gaps down the road with the other countries. And so and make Michigan a destination and showcase Michigan. Obviously, showcase a product and what Triumph has to offer and the great bike that they have to offer. Super pumped to have them to be a part of the program and giving us bikes so we can showcase what they have to offer and try to sell some more of them in the United States.
It is a truly beautiful state, because I know when I came over to the Nations a couple of years ago, it was nothing what I thought it was going to be like. It was just amazing, and the vast open spaces is like nothing we get here. It was a fantastic place to go.
What was the furthest you ever travelled, Jeff, by road to go and ride at a meeting, say when you were a kid, or in your schoolboy days, as we call it?
Wow, gosh, we traveled just like these guys do now. We would drive to Ponca City, Oklahoma for their big national, the Mini O's in Vegas. As an amateur, you traveled from one side of the country to the other. We pretty much covered every state. Listen, in 1986, I was a senior in high school, and my dad and I every weekend went and raced every amateur race before every professional race. So they would, let's say they had the professional race at Mount Morris, they would have an amateur race on Friday. We would go race the amateur race on Friday just so I would get track time. So when I turned professional the next year, I knew what that track was like. And my dad and I jumped in a pickup every Thursday, just our pickup. We slept in the back of it, and he took me to every professional race that year, all 12 of them, just to get track time. So when I turned professional in 87, I would be ready. So
there was no all singing, all dancing, 100-foot camper or whatever it is in the back of a pickup.
Not on a farmer's salary back in the early 80s. No, there was no 100-foot cush life. It was sleep in the extra cab of the pickup, and my dad would drive all night, race on Friday, watch some pros practice on Saturday a little bit, and drive back home. So it was much different then, and I was fortunate to be raised on a farm and have the values that I had, and the work ethic and the dedication and the family that I had behind me, for sure.
Jeff, when you talk about the farm, I think what sort of size is your farm? Because I think our farms when you talk about farm, there's probably a bit of a difference in what we're used to over here.
Yeah, my younger brother is really running the whole farm. I'm there helping out every day, but they're farming. They're farming, 2,500 to 3,000 acres now. Um,
That's a few motocross tracks.
That's many motocross tracks. Yeah. So our home farm that's been there since the 1800s is 600 acres, just that square chunk. And then over the years, we've accumulated more property along the way. And so, yeah, farming is turned into a big business. There's no 20-acre farms left. They've all been gobbled up by big business. It's thousands and thousands of acres now in big production stuff.
Any good terrain on the farm?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we got a couple of tracks on the farm and rolling hills. You were at Redbud. You know what it's like. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
we've been fortunate to have some great property to be able to hunt and fish and enjoy riding motorcycles and four-wheelers and everything else.
So when you were riding your Yamaha, Jeff, did your dad do all the mechanics or yourself, and then obviously you went to Honda?
Yep. My dad and I, throughout our amateur career, yes. When I turned professional in 1987, I was with Yamaha then. I was with Yamaha 87, 88, and in the box vans, and they had a mechanic for us. But through my whole amateur career, yeah, my dad and I did everything. Absolutely.
And is that right? Ricky Johnson sort of gave you a foot up the ladder with Honda.
Absolutely. So in '88, I was on that YZ490, that air cooled.
Why does everyone laugh when that bike gets
I
mentioned?
know, but listen, that was a great bike. I mean, it was a dinosaur, and it was a dinosaur in its history. But listen, I battled with RJ and Wardy on that thing, and it worked great. I enjoyed riding it. It
Listen,
was.
I can tell you an interesting story that actually I probably never told you. That Doug Duback, little did he know, Duback had a 490 that I think he raced it in about 92. He shipped it over for Farley in about 2014. I think he won a race on it, and then he had trouble with the head gasket was going. I had a couple of guys take the head off, and as they turned the head over, on the bottom of the head was written your name. So that was that must have been one of your motors from that bike, and he always said it was an absolute rocket ship. And he had that in a 250 chassis.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had a great relationship with Yamaha. Unfortunately, it ended. They just didn't see. They didn't see what Dave Arnold saw in '88 when I was battling with RJ and Wardy in the 250 class outdoor nationals and that in the 500 class. And so, and listen, late '80s, the only place anybody wanted to be was on a red bike.
absolutely.
That was pre David Bailey, Johnny O'Mara, Rick Johnson, Ron Lachine. That was it. David Thorpe. That's where you wanted to be. And so, Dave Arnold could have offered me a contract for a little bit of nothing, and I would have jumped all over it. But fortunately, we got to spend a lot of time with Rick Johnson in '88, riding together, training together, and during that 500 national stuff. And he saw, maybe a little bit there along with Dave Arnold, and one thing led.
Oh, he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
In hindsight, do you think that was a bit of a mistake for Ricky to take you under his wing like that?
Well, I'm sure he thought that at some point, but now no. But probably when he got hurt and he wasn't able to do the things that he wanted, maybe yes. But I would have done the same thing at Honda. If you see something in somebody, you tell them, and life goes on. So
Yeah.
I reckon personally, RJ would have been, well, I'm not going to swear because there might be kids watching, but really cheesed off, as we say in the UK, because '89 Atlanta, I think, is a wonderful story. It's where you won your first Supercross meeting, as it were.
Yep.
And there was also another story, but I'll just show you a bit of VT, everybody. You can watch this.
Stanton what it would take to beat Johnson. Well, Rick,
right 100% the whole moto. So I've been practicing that way all week long. And all I have to do is go out and get a good start and just ride 100%. If that takes a riding over my head with my feet off my feet now and then, I'll do it. Because I want to win. I want to win bad. I want to end his winning streak here in the round.
And it appears that Stanton is going to do just that. In the process, he has ridden with his feet off the pegs, and in fact has ridden off the track. But most importantly, Stanton has turned his superb ride to hold down that number one spot. While there is still time, we'd like to thank the entire staff of the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium for their cooperation. A special thanks to the American Motorcycle Association for helping make this podcast possible. Just a few more corners, and Jobbers in the number 2 position will see his win streak come to an end. Here comes Stanton, and the checkered flag is his. Jeff Stanton takes the win in Atlanta. Round number 6. Johnson's win streak ended at 5. And Johnson comes by and shakes hands with Stanton, who takes the win.
So
he didn't want to stop and give me a hug there, did he?
I know the commentator and Ricky Johnson shakes his hand, and I'm thinking that's the funniest handshake I've ever seen.
Oh, that's funny. No,
Jeff, those. Go on, carry on.
That was a great stepping stone for me. So listen, I finished second and third behind him for like 6 weeks in a row. He went on a tear that year, and so listen, the whole time he was winning and I was second and third behind him, I was living with him in California, and we were training and riding together every day. So I knew it was just a matter of time to get that break that I needed. And Atlanta was it. You know, once we went back east, got in some firmer soil, it wasn't so hard packed, I was always better. And so that was kind of the stepping stone. And then unfortunately, as everybody knows, the next week it was all over for him. You know, gets landed on in practice and blows his wrist out. And fortunately, American hired somebody, and there was somebody waiting in the wings to take over, and I was ready for it and able to do it.
Those works Hondas, Jeff. How much of an advantage was that?
Back in the late 80s and 90s, it was a huge advantage. So listen, that's one thing that Dave Arnold was phenomenal with. Whatever it took to win a race, there was no cost, no sacrifice, whatever it took. If there was an issue with the bike, Dave Arnold was an outstanding team manager, saw the talent in a certain amount of people, knew how to set up a bike and build a bike. And those bikes were, they were phenomenal.
And from year to year, could you tell the difference between each year's bike, you know, or was there just a slow progression, you know, through the years?
No, you could tell year to year for sure. You know, there were some years you didn't change them that much. Like I would say 90 to 91, they didn't get changed that much. 92 was a big jump. But I mean, if I go back and look at Bale, dude, the whole time he was in America, he didn't change anything. He rode the same suspension, same bike. And, you know, on hindsight, that was great for him because you get used to it, but you don't advance the technology by doing that in the machine. And so, just a great place to be in the late 80s, 90s, just because the team at all costs that's it. They want to win. No amount of money, no amount of respect. You won races.
And I have seen a picture in the past of a glass box in your basement that's got a very special bike in it. Yeah. I've got I saved some of my bikes, championship bikes. I got an outstanding trophy room for sure.
So when we come over to go and do your tour, or if anybody comes over, you get a nice view of your museum, as it were.
Absolutely. That's the sad part about my museum. You know, it's at my house, and you know, 10 people get to see it a year. I'd like to. You know, Terry Good's been talking about doing a museum in Chicago. I'm sure you've heard sputter about it, but I just don't see it happening now with COVID and everything, and financially, it's not going to happen. I would love to do a lifetime lease with somebody like that, and have 100,000 people a year see everything that I've saved and accomplished, but it's just it's not going to happen.
You're a feral. You still ride vintage, don't you? In the States, I've seen you at was it a race last year you did somewhere, or several races?
Oh yeah, my son and I about every third week race vintage bikes. We got a collection of them. from Elsinores. I got 74 Elsinores, 78 Elsinores, a fleet of 125s, 94, 96, 2001, 97 250 CR, 2007 CR. Yeah, I've got a fleet of them. I got some Yamaha YZ stuff that I really love to ride as well. Yeah. So
do you search the the newspapers and the internet ads for bikes, or is it just stuff that comes your way?
No, I look at Marketplace every day, and just like it is for you guys, the stuff's gone way up in price here. And listen, it's because it's like I said, what's left in motocross right now is vintage and adventure riding, because the vintage is what people can afford right now. You know,
absolutely.
I don't have anybody that can afford to go out and buy a $12,000 Ken Roxon 450. I mean, there's some people do, but for the majority of the people, they want to spend a couple of grand on a vintage bike. They can work on it. They can change the piston and ring and the clutch and go and enjoy it and have fun. So we are getting more for vintage riding locally than we are big bike riding.
How many riders would you normally get at one of those events?
So if we have a vintage race here at our local track at Log Road, there'll be anywhere from 150 to 200 vintage bikes.
Oh wow! Okay.
Every third week they do it. So it's getting more and more popular. You know, District 14 has a vintage series, and it's what people enjoy. They just want to go ride. They don't want to go hang it out. They just want to ride and have fun.
And what are the tracks like?
So the tracks, they start off smooth, and as long as there's 100 vintage bikes, they don't get all beat up, you know.
Yeah.
They'll go around all the big jumps, and so they make them mellow for everybody. Because that's what the guys want. Nobody wants to.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to jump a big triple on them things. Yeah, you do on your 2007 CR250, but on a 1974 Elsinore 125, damn straight, I don't want to jump anything. No. So.
Going back to Atlanta, Jeff, there's a really lovely story about that meeting.
Yeah, so you must have heard it on the last podcast, huh?
Yeah, I think the people in the UK, it just shows what a top guy you are as well, I think.
So Motocross Action came to me 5 years ago, and they said, tell us something that you've done or that nobody else in the sport knows. And so I told the story. I said, okay, I got one for you. So 1989 Atlanta Supercross. Win the race, you're pumped, you just beat RJ. You're sitting on the box vans back then signing autographs. And so you're signing till 1 o'clock in the morning. And so there's two people left in line. And it's a gentleman that's got his arm wrapped around his son's arm, and he comes walking up to me. And he said, hi, my name's, this is Brian. This is my son, Brian. And the father had raced motocross and still does to this day. And he said, my son was blind from birth. And he goes to the races. His mother takes him to the races, and he's there with me. And I bring him to every Supercross. We sit in the stands, and I explain everything to him. He sits there, and he loves it. He loves the noise. He loves the sound, and he loves the history of it. And so, it just touched me that father took his son, who's been blind from birth, dude, knows not even what a motorcycle looks like or what a stadium looks like, but this father, dedicated beyond belief, takes his son and does everything with him. And so they come up, and I get goosebumps talking about it. It just touched my heart. And so to this day, Brian Spencer and I talk on the phone at least once a month. We just kept a relationship. Every time I would go to Atlanta, I'd fly in a day early, go have dinner with him, take him to the dealer signings with him. When we met, he was probably 10, 12 years old, and now he's an adult, and he's got a CNI dog and a job, and he's just doing phenomenal and still follows racing. He just called me the other night, okay, give me your predictions for the Supercross. Who's going to do what? Who's going to do what, And so just established a relationship with a family, and it just meant a lot to be able to touch that kid and touch that family and continue for years and years, now some 25 years later, to still have that relationship, almost 30 years later, to have that relationship with them. and to be able to help that family out and morally, and to be a friend, and just an awesome story, really.
Fantastic.
Have you ever thought about writing a book or something like that, Jeff, about your sort of life story and obviously the motocross? And
Oh, I haven't. I've had some people come to me, but I don't know. Jeremy tried it. I don't know how well it did. You know what? I'd rather do the adventure side of it. Have people come and join me, and let's go ride, and let's tell stories face to face. Sit around a campfire, drink some sodas. And if I don't drink alcohol, so if you want to drink a beer, I'll drink a Diet Coke and cook some steaks, and I'll tell you the real side. You won't have to sit down and read a book. We'll enjoy it live.
You enjoyed Daytona. What did you win it 4 years on the trot, Jeff?
Yeah, Daytona was a good place for me. I love that stretch. So we would go from Atlanta to Gainesville to Daytona 3 weeks in a row. And that was always, in my mind, that was where it was time for me to turn the tables. We've been out west riding in hard, dry tracks, and it was always time for me to turn the tables then and make things really happen. And so I always look forward to Atlanta and then go to Gainesville, the first outdoor national. Obviously would always do well there, and then would carry that into Daytona. And so physically fit, mentally tough. And back then Daytona was super gnarly. Okay. Middle of the day,
Roasting hot,
blazing hot, or raining, one or the other. And there wasn't 22 guys on the starting gate. There was 40. And so the track would get gnarly and tore up and rough. Every lap it would be different. And so we would stay back after Gainesville, Daytona, ride in the sand, set the bike up just for that race. I mean, literally 40 guys on the start line. I would make that bike a rocket ship because I wanted the whole shot. And then I would just not struggle for 20 laps, but I would just make it happen for 20 laps. That's one thing people don't understand. In a situation like that, dude, if you start 10th, you ain't winning. No, back then, nobody ever done it. But if you started 1, 2, or 3, you're going to win as long as you can handle it. And so
was sand your favorite type of terrain?
It was. If you look at Southwick, Massachusetts, I won 5 years in a row there. So I was a good sand rider just because I was mentally, physically tough.
What year would you like to see, Jeff? 1991 or 92 of Daytona? I've got a little clip.
You've got both?
Yeah, you can choose.
It doesn't matter. Either one of them. I had a great race with Bradshaw one year and a great race with Bale the next year. So either one. And I knew that if they were in front of me, however it played out, I knew I was more physically fit than them. So if there's 5 laps to go, that's when I would always throw the hammer down and either pull away from them or pass them.
I was amazed how, like you say, how gnarly and rough it is. I'm sure the Supercross tracks now don't get like they do like back in the day.
Not even close.
The gate falls and we are underway. One of the most spectacular sights in all of motorsports as they funnel down into turn number 1. And going way wide, a second man started today, number 5, Guy Cooper. But it is Damon Bradshaw and Todd DeHoop up front.
There is David Bradshaw on the 4. Right behind him, DeHoop. But look at this. There's the 2. Jeff Stanton blows by DeHoop to take over second place. And he has Bradshaw in his sights.
And Stanton is closing in, Brock.
Stanton is blowing by him off that jump. And Jeff Stanton, but here comes Bradshaw back again on the outside. It's head-to-head dueling right down through these jumps. But Jeff Stanton takes it away from him. So Jeff Stanton apparently on his way to victory number 4 here at Daytona. Unprecedented. Damon Bradshaw had a 5-race streak going, but not today. Jeff Stanton wins Daytona.
Yeah,
Coach,
so that's what I tell
you reenacted one of those races this year.
Yes. Yeah. What did you guys think about that? The old fight club?
Yeah, obviously it was late at night for us, but yeah, I watched it. Yeah, it was very good. It was whoever created that, did a good job because there was nothing. We were down in lockdown. There was absolutely nothing else, and I think that was pre Grand Prix, pre Supercross, everything. So they did a good job there. They could do doing another one. but on old bikes.
Yeah, that was another fun project. But going back to that race at Daytona, it's just like I said. Damon started up front. I knew that he was obviously a great rider, but physically I knew I could outlast him because I was, in better shape. And so I just waited till a few laps to go, put the hammer down, and made it happen. And great racing at Daytona.
You had a really good relationship with Bradshaw on the track. Obviously, you gave one another space and didn't kill one another, as it were.
Absolutely. And that goes way back to our amateur career. Damon was the superstar on mini bikes on a Yamaha, and I was kind of their big bike guy. So we did a lot together, even back in the amateur day. And then he came up quick, and we had that mutual respect for each other. I can go back to Gainesville that same year. Dude, we passed each other 10 times in the first moto. I would give him space. He would give me space. That's what really that's what people wanted. They wanted that. And at the end of the moto, the best guy is going to win. The guy that makes the least amount of mistakes and that's in the best shape. And so you didn't have to go in and knock somebody down and rough them up. We could battle with respect. And not a lot of riders could do that or say that they could do that year after year.
Who did you have some sort of battles with who you didn't have any respect for, or you'd have to look over your shoulder that they were going to T-bone you every other lap or something?
It wasn't till probably 92 that group of guys came in, and that was like a Matasevich, a Jeff Emig, those that error kind of behind us that they battled each other, knocked each other down, and got up and threw fists at each other. It wasn't until that group came in that you were, like you said, we're looking over your shoulder to see who's behind you, and if you passed them, you made sure you took an inside line on the next turn. You had to think it out a little more, which was fine too. I think guys in today's world don't do that enough. If somebody goes inside of somebody now and roughs them up, they're not being smart in the next turn. They're leaving the door wide open. Well, you left the door wide open. You took him out in the last turn. Of course he's going to take you out. It's not as much mental thought process goes into it now.
Your nation's race, Jeff. I think that started in '89 in Germany.
That Germany race sticks out in my head as one of the best races. It rates the same as that 92 Coliseum race that you just showed.
No way.
Absolutely. And this is why. And I said this on the last podcast, not just because you guys are in UK, but Dave Thorpe was the god. Okay. I mean, I looked up to him for what he did in Europe, and that was really his last race over there. And so we're going to Germany, and hadn't been overseas a bunch at that point. My first motocross to nations. The track was hard as a rock. Geldorf, Germany, that year. Yeah. I might as well have been out on that asphalt road because it was just as hard. I didn't ride that a track like that good. So first motocross to nations, I'm scared to death. David Thorpe, scared to death. I look up to him, I'm just going to get smoked by him. The track's hard as a rock. Okay. That's not fitting my style at all. And there's 80 guys on the starting line.
Yeah. Two lineups, wasn't it?
Two, that's right. Two lineups. Most people that are watching this podcast, they probably don't realize that. They watch a Motocross to Nations now, they think 40 guys. But back in the day, it's showing our age, there was 2 rows, 80 guys. And so Geldorf, Germany, it was just phenomenal. It was just one of those weekends that I just rode just flawless. Like I started in the second row. The 500s were in the first row. I was in the second row. Wardy was in front of me. And in the second row, I sneaked through everybody, and I go through the second turn in like 3rd or 4th place and just pass David, pass everybody, and win. I think Trappist Parker was behind me, American that went over, and I probably rode for, you could tell me, Dave probably rode for Italy that year.
I think he either rode for Italy or Luxembourg because he wasn't on the official American team, was he?
No. And so I just rode phenomenal. The bike, that '89 bike, was one of the best bikes, and Yeah, Geldorf, Germany was just phenomenal. I went 1-1. Americans won. It was Mike Kudrowski, Jeff Ward, and myself that year. And that just set the tone for my next quite a few Motocross of Nations.
So previous to you being picked for the Nations, were you really aware of the European riders?
Oh yeah, because I followed him, back in the day, and that's why I talk about Dave Thorpe. Dave Thorpe was, he was the kingpin. They did Hondas for so many years there, and did won how many 500 national championships, and was outstanding. And we did the GPs that year. They came over. I did the 500 GP a couple of years before that, so you were familiar with all everything that was going on over there for sure.
Sorry, did you say you did the 500 Grand Prix?
I did the 500 Grand Prix when it was in Hollister, California. You remember that?
Yeah. Was this 1990?
No, this was I was on a Yamaha.
No, I didn't know that.
I was on a Yamaha, Hollister, California, but it's not the same place as it is now. It was at a different track.
Got ya.
And I did that in 1988.
On a YZ490.
On a YZ490, absolutely.
What was that? What was the results like?
You know what? Honestly, I'd have to go back and look because I didn't do great. Intimidated probably. All the great Europeans coming over, and the track was, I'm sure, as hard as a rock. So yeah, it wasn't stellar for me. But we followed all the GP stuff for sure.
Yeah, got ya.
While you're there, let's have a quick look at that track of the Motocross of Nations.
Last 7 years, and they do take it serious. I know that winning this race is important to the riders as it is to win the Supercross or the national title. And now that we have won it so many times, it gets a little harder because no one wants to be on the team if we lose. With only 5 laps remaining in this moto, Stanton continues to make it look easy, but the race for second is the one to watch between Parker and Thorpe. However, even if Parker passes Thorpe, it will not change the final team standings for the overall. He has tied it up with 4 points, Italy with 11 points. Now let's join the top 3 teams on the victory platform.
Yeah, that must have been immense.
You covered all the bases there. Did I tell you the track was rock hard? You see
it looked
hard packed that track.
it looked like a road.
It was a road. It was so hard packed, and then number 56, David Thorpe there. So yeah, that was a great event, and so many people. So yeah, awesome.
Earlier on in the interview, though, you sang about all these great riders, and there you go, winning the Motocross of Nations. You're not you're so humble. It's like, in that era, there was like so many. There's always good riders of it in any era, but there was so many good riders at that meeting, and you won both motos. And you're like, yeah, I'm okay.
Well, like Gary Bailey said, I believe was the announcer there. You wanted to be a part of that American team, and you wanted to win because you didn't want to be a part of the first losing team. We went on a streak there for years and years and years
until 94.
Yeah,
and then we won.
Yes, yeah. And so you did whatever you took. You didn't want to be on that losing streak. I for sure never did. And I mean, we'll jump ahead 2 years and Holland, Valkenswaard, yeah. I mean, I'd crashed and I come from way back the last moto and passed everybody with 1 lap to go to win that thing. And so that was most memorable for me, is that race there. Again, sand, gnarly. Valkenswaard's okay. It's not a great track, not super wide, but back then it got super rough and super gnarly. And so did whatever I had to do to win the race and to win that MXON again.
Would you say it's weird, but when we spoke to Stefan Everts, and one of his favourite races where he said he rode the best, he didn't win. Was that one of your races, Jeff, that you would say would stand out, that you rode absolutely, because you crashed on the second lap or whatever it was, and you were like way
Yes.
behind.
Absolutely, you got it. I didn't go 1-1 that weekend, but I did enough to bring home the Motocross of Nations for us. And listen, this is how it plays out. I just did this interview with 100% in Bevo just the other day. So Bevo was my traveling partner. Every race I did in Europe, Bevo was like my father. He was obviously we're Scott USA at that point. He went to every race with me, and so he was like my dad. And so that second moto, I crash. I'm way in the back. I get up. The bars are bent. I just keep picking guys off. And so Bevo's on the side of the track. And back then, if you knew Bevo, he was
a big guy.
350, maybe a little more than that. Okay, so let's say there's 15 minutes to go. And so Bevo's on the side of the track and he's going, come on, let's go. 10 minutes, he's getting pumped up. He's, I could see his emotion coming out. And so I'm like telling myself, man, maybe I should not quit here. Maybe I should, wick it up. So 5 laps to go. Bevo's on the side of the track and he's aggressive. He's like pointing them down and, his aggression's getting me pumped up. So I go and so with 2 laps to go, he's got the elbow up. He's like, hey, right there, boom, get him out of the way. And so I just kept picking guys away. And then I see who's in front of me, what country it is. And so really that win is 100% because of Bevo and his excitement getting me excited to go do what I had to do.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure you won't mind. This is like going down memory lane. I love putting little video clips in, so I'm sure it's like all falling into place tonight.
And another American there, Jeff Stanton, one of the last riders because he fell down after 2 laps, and he did a remarkable race. He is closing the gap between the leaders. So he has been overtaking more than 20 nations, the best riders of 20 nations in the 500cc class. And there is Stanton. Stanton not too far behind, overtaking there the number 26, which is Søren Mortensen from Denmark, who was in 3rd position of the 500cc. And Stanton storms through and comes there to Hansen, who had just fallen down and has a problem to keep the pace. Hansen there with a painful knee, which he hurt in practice, and he loses a position to Jeff Stanton. Only Van Dorn, the Dutchman with number 14, is in front of the American. Incredible race there of Jeff Stanton. Already many times US Supercross and outdoor. Between them is the American with number 1. There he is, Jeff Stanton. Fantastic race of this man. Hansen tries to keep up with the leaders, but it's impossible. And there is the attack from Stanton, and look how he takes the lead of the 500cc class. And this makes it sure for the Americans. They will win again this Motocross the Nations.
I didn't realize you rode the 500 that day.
Yeah, I rode the 500, so it was Kudrowski, Bradshaw, and myself that year.
I cannot imagine riding a 500 round Valkenswaard, not for even a lap. Crikey, that was crazy.
What was your fitness regime, Jeff? Because that was like, what was it, 40-minute race plus 2 laps, I think.
He was a farmer. He doesn't need a fitness regime. All farmers are.
No, I took training too serious later in my career. I got addicted to it. It was like a drug to me. Here I am, 52 years old, never had any alcohol in my life, and that was my addiction. I trained, I ran, I bicycled, and later in my career I did that too much, and kind of thinned myself out, wore myself out. But I just enjoy it. I still bicycle and run every day here now at 52, and it just I was just fit. I enjoyed the training as much as I did the riding and racing.
Did you ever consider, or was there ever an offer of doing Grand Prix?
No, I never considered it. There was never an offer, and I never considered it. Gosh, I raced so much between the Supercrosses here, all the outdoor nationals, And then you guys know, I've said it many times before. We do after the Outdoor Nationals, we'd go over there and do 4 nights at Bercy. We'd do Barcelona. We would do another 20 races a year, and the money was so good we couldn't turn it down. Quite honestly, that's back that's back when the days were good, and so there was 3 or 4 years there that I did 50 to 52 races a year, more races than there are weekends, just about, and so. I was fortunate, got to be able to travel Europe and have a lot of great friends over there. And so, no, I wasn't about to leave and go do the GPs.
Coming back to the nations, what do you think needs to change to try and get the Americans a little bit more motivated for doing the nations race? Is it management? Is it management, or is it? I don't know. What is it? Why are they not so interested? Is it money? It's a disappointment because without a top American team, there is no nations. There's really no point in running it because we all know they're great riders. Historically, they put on a great show. So without the very best, I think it's sadly lacking. And it's disappointing that you hear these stories that so and so's been offered a ride and he's turned it down for one reason or another. Supercross testing, or he's got to do this or go shopping or something. It's disappointing. I bet you guys, when you were asked to do it, that it was just a no-brainer.
It was an honor.
Absolutely.
It was 100% honor to be a part of it, and that's gone, and it's because of the $1 million Supercross that follows it the next week. And so that's all that Supercross money is got them, if they can't make any money to go doing it, they're not going to do it. The top 5 over here are making good money. And so if they can't have the opportunity to make $100,000 race win bonus and $1 million championship bonus by doing it, they're not going to do it. They don't care about the Olympics in the USA. It's about self-greed and not traveling and racing a Supercross race for $1 million instead of going over and getting their ass handed to them by the GP guys.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
So is that harsh enough?
Yeah, just like you didn't pull any punches there. But only one of those guys, I guess, wins $1 million. And to be honest, I don't think many of them have ever won $1 million, have they? No. So this £1 million thing is a bit of a fantasy.
Yeah. It's 100% it is. And you go to the Kawasaki guys, it's sponsored by Monster, Team Green Monster. So it's it's swayed by some of that political BS too. But just the prestige of the MXON and honoring your country. It lost the American side 10 years ago.
Apart from 2 years ago at Red Bud. And I have to say that I was stood amongst that crowd, and the patriotism of the crowd was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that where they all sung not the national anthem. I don't know what do you call it in
the Star Spangled Banner.
Our Spangled Banner, and that just made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I thought that was just fantastic. Those fans there are hardcore fans.
Absolutely. Red Bud's always been that way, hardcore fans. And so, all of us wanted to see them do well, but it just didn't play out between the mud and, conditions, and they weren't prepped for it and prepared for it. It is what it is. I'm not sure that 3 of the best Americans could still beat. I mean, what I see in Europe. Listen, I said this on the last podcast I did over there. I don't watch much American racing anymore. I love watching the GPs, man. I mean, those guys they're amazing. They're hauling the mail. The guys are Hurlings, Prado, all of them guys. It's amazing to watch the GPs over there. I love it. It's phenomenal. I mean,
it's just a shame they don't go to tracks like Geldorf.
Yeah, for sure. And I understand it's not 40 man deep, like it once was. It's 20 man deep, and that's sad to me as well. But those guys are serious. They've stepped it up.
we better let you do some farming. We've had you for an
Yeah, I
hour
was
already.
gonna
The
say,
cows will
yeah.
be getting hungry.
One more question, Jeff. When you retired, did you, like a lot of top sportsmen, athletes, or women, when they finish their career, they sort of lost for something to do. What sort of advice would you give to people that are say in the sport, and then like some people suffer with depression or?
Hey, listen, I could write a book on that. You talk about writing a book, and I talked about this. I've had some past champions, call me and say, Jeff, what do I do? Because it's an issue in our sport. It's 100% issue.
Totally.
Because you ride a motorcycle from when you're 7 years old till whenever you retire. That's all you do. You know nothing. And now the kids don't even go to school, so they don't have any GED or nothing to back up on. So if they don't make it, I don't care if you do make it and you have 5 million in the bank, 10 million in the bank. When you're done, you're done. And when you do this every day, you train every day, you ride every day, and then you're done, and you have no background of business, a farming background, a family, something to do, you're lost. For a couple of years, you're lost. Well, it wasn't the case for me because I've always got the farm to keep busy. There's always something to keep busy. I've gone out and established a couple other businesses. Now I'm on my third one. Hopefully it's going to be as successful as my last two. But some guys they just can't do that. They can't figure it out because they don't know how to. And so it's a definite issue in our sport, and I'm probably more on the West Coast because, dude, there's nothing in the West Coast to get involved in, and so it's a problem. So as a young man growing up, you think motocross is your whole life but you also have to be thinking about the future. What do I want to do down the road? Do I want to stay in the sport? Do I want to get hooked up with one of my sponsors and be an advisor for them, or be a coach for one of the race teams, or a consultant? And if that doesn't interest you, okay, well, what am I going to do outside? What kind of business that I can do? What am I going to do that's enjoyable, that I want to continue to work for and put time and effort for? But 100% issue in our sport, life after racing.
So what were the other two businesses that you mentioned that you set up?
So, I've had a whitetail deer business I'm on my 14th year, and that's outstanding. It's it's fun. I enjoy being around my animals every day. And then as you said, my stone barn, the wedding business, we do 35 plus weddings a year. We do over 50 events a year there, almost every weekend. And so I just had an idea. I took an old barn, restored it, made it a wedding venue, wedding and event center. And it just word of mouth, and it's gone crazy.
I've got to ask you a question because obviously it's gone so quick. And as this is Vets MXDN, Dave, when you walked in the gates of Farley Castle, what did you think?
Well, I didn't know what to expect. And as the weekend went on, it's just amazing. And then now I'm sure it's 10 times bigger than what it was when I was there, just because of the vintage bikes of people. That's all people are into. And so I'm sure it's 10 times bigger than now than what it was when I was there. But it's just fun to see. It's fun to see the older gentleman, and that's the kind of crowd that I want to bring over to my adventure. That older gentleman that just enjoys riding. That's not going to go out there and go as fast as we do on these things, and he don't care. But he wants to ride an old bike, enjoy his time, and enjoy himself, and that's what vintage is about.
Yeah, I want to apologise to you. Actually, I regret bringing you over when I did. This is hand on heart. It was too early. I think it was 2010, was it, or 2011? No, 2011. So we were only 3 years into it, and we weren't professional enough for guys like you. I learned a lot from having you there. Not to give anybody a piece of shit bike to ride. And unfortunately, out of the three bikes, only the Denton Honda was the. I don't know if you remember the little CR250 that Stevie Denton and his dad did for you. That was the only bike really worthy of riding.
Yeah.
So I wish that I'd have kind of waited another couple of years and learned a bit more about what I was doing rather than throw you into the deep end.
Hey, the first bike I got on, it was like
you melted it.
I melted it. I got on the thing. It was raining, so I said to myself, I got to go out there and I got to haul ass on this first lap to get a good lap time because it's only going to get worse. So I got on that thing and I just wide flipping open. I put in one lap. It was the fastest lap of the weekend. And I come down the downhill and it was done. It wadded.
But I am eternally grateful to the people who put those bikes up. They were all good fun for that.
And like you say, Dave, for Jeff coming over, it opens the doors for other people. You know,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, you were in that year one American team with Jim Gibson, Chuck, and Scott
Burnsworth. Yeah.
And really, to be honest, once you guys had came, you made the every other year since so much easier for me, because people, through the internet saw that you came. You had I hope you had a good time. And you opened a lot of doors for me. I know you did. I'm truly appreciative of that.
No, it was an honor to be there. And what was more fun for me, and I told you this, is I took my son with me. And so when we fly in, they were in history class. They was talking about England and everything in England. And so it was more special to have my son there and have him drive around and see all the landmarks and talk about all the landmarks and just really take a history course from him, and then have him there to obviously be there and do the racing. So it worked out great for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember how it all came about, but I was wandering around the pits in Vegas I think you were working with Honda and Kevin Windham at the time. It must have been, I reckon, the end of 2010. And I just happened to see you come out of the Honda rig, and I just launched up to you, shook your hand and said, "Would you like to come to a race in England?" You just went, "Yeah, sure. Just give me the details and I'll be there." And I, honest to God, I thought, yeah, he's just saying that to get rid of me. And I never really believed that you were going to turn up. And when I saw you walking down through the paddock with your son, I was like, I can't believe this. He's actually turned up. It was all on a bit of a wing and a prayer for me, to be honest.
That's all right. It worked out for everybody. It's all good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a good weekend.
Cool.
Well, Jeff, same as like when I messaged Jeff, Dave, about the interview, he just said, yeah, anytime, so cheers, Jeff, for coming on and doing it.
Hopefully when all this does one, we'll be over there on the bike tours.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'll just bring some people's comments up. There's one. My mum rode a 500 broomstick. Oh dear. I don't know if you saw this one, Jeff. Warren Bartholomew, however you pronounce it.
Warren Berthwain.
Yeah, Berthwain, yeah. Saw you ride at Vulcan's Wagner's Nations last race. So much pressure on him. Most wouldn't have done what he did. Amazing.
Yeah.
Lovely guy. Wow.
That's cool.
Oh, here we go. Oh, Scott's watching. It was a great experience. Hello, Scott. Didn't realise you were watching. Yeah.
Say, Scott he's still riding all the time. Yeah. I follow him on social media. He's a riding fool. He rides more than I do.
Absolutely.
So it's great to see Scott doing that and being a part of the vintage out there and really keeping the SoCal vintage thing going.
Yeah. He's a big part, and he organises a race every year, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeps it going.
Absolutely.
So we can let you go now and pick up your snowmobile.
All right, I'll get my sleds picked up. Hopefully we get some snow. When the borders open up, look up JeffStantonAdventures.com and check us out. And go ahead.
Before you go, Jeff, that was another thing, because of obviously where you are, I was just thinking, I've always wanted to go on a snowmobile. Would you ever do snowmobile adventures?
And there's one.
But the problem is we got to get snow. I mean, I would love to do snowmobile adventures. Hey, if I book 20 snowmobile adventures right now, I'd be writing everybody checks back because, dude, we are not getting the snow.
No, you just take them out on the bikes instead.
We could. It may be a little cold and snowy, but you could.
Well, no, thanks. Hopefully, everybody watching, thank you so much, Jeff, for doing it. It's been an honour and a privilege to speak to you. And watching those amazing video clips of yourself. And
thanks very much, Jeff.
No problem, Dave. Yeah, you did a great job of timing the videos with the chat. That all worked out good. Good job.
Absolutely. Yeah, all professional here. It's all down to that man.
Yeah, I literally sent Jeff a message today. People that were watching, I thought, shit, he can do it today. Quick, get some stuff together. So they're like 40-minute videos edited into like
I don't know where you find all that. A lot of that stuff I've never seen before.
Yeah,
That Nations race, I haven't seen those particular, clips. I don't know where you find it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, you can tell by my outfit, my truck. I'll just do it anywhere. I haven't got to be sitting at the house in my trophy room. I'm not afraid to do it right here in my truck or on top of a grain bin like I did the last one. It is what it is.
I've got a drink for you, actually. I know you don't drink, Jeff, but you should definitely drink martini because it was any time, any place, anywhere. That was it. So, yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you.
Bye.
Well, that was good, Dave. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
we're still live, by the way.
Thanks for sorting it out. Yeah, no, I guess that.
Yeah. No, it was really good, and the videos. It was almost like it was staged, but none of it was staged. It just
I know that. It's almost like we're getting professional at it.
Yeah.
Only people knew.
But yeah, no. Thanks for coming on again, Dave, because it's always nice to have somebody there as well that knows a lot about
thank you
races
for doing those video credits. It was very, very good.
Right, well, anyway, I suppose you better get and have some tea and a cup of tea and a slice of cake, I suppose.
Has all the Christmas cake gone?
Yeah, it's all gone. It's all gone. No more Christmas cake. Got some nice comments. Awesome, guys. Put them up.
Hey, I just want to put a big shout out to Sam Sunderland.
God, yeah, I forgot about that. I wrote it down. Sam Sunderland got carried away.
Yeah, finished a third overall on the Dakar yesterday. Going into the last day, he managed to get up to within 4 minutes of the leader, the Argentinian guy. I can't remember his name, and I think a lot of us thought he's going to do it. He'd been playing a catch-up race all for the last sort of 10 days. But I think he had a bit of a navigation error today, and he dropped a third. But still, an incredible achievement. I think he was only about 14 minutes off the leader after. Was it? I can't remember what the whole race time was. It was something like 48 hours.
Yeah, 47 hours.
That was just crazy. And also to David Knight, finished 24th, who we spoke to a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I shake my head, and I cannot get my head around what they do with those long distance races. I still don't totally understand it with where they all go off. I mean, you maybe can answer this. So the first guy, I guess the quickest guy, goes off first.
Yeah.
So why doesn't everybody else just follow him?
Exactly. I suppose this. Well, who knows?
I'm guessing the guy at the front's going to be pretty good and knows what he's doing. I guess they do make mistakes, but
I'm not sure the actual distance of when they go off. Something hopefully we can get David Knight and Sam Sunderland back on. Obviously when things are settled down for them.
Yeah, that's if. Yeah, I hope. I know Sam lives in France, but I hope David can get the hurry up and come home, because I think Monday at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
there's no chance.
But
amazing result for both of them.
To come third, like I was just keeping my fingers crossed. I thought he can win this, and I've been following it.
Yeah, I think a lot. Yeah, no, it's obviously he had that problem today. It's a shame he didn't win it.
But we're still live, so if people are watching, this is Sam Sunderland.
I got a feeling that was on when he was on Honda, wasn't it? He said.
I think that was a KTM, but it wasn't the Dakar. But it wasn't the Dakar. But it just gives you an idea of the speed they actually go. It's not like they're just on a Sunday afternoon ride. They're flat out. The top boys are like. It amazes me.
Well, they had. I think there was a death yesterday, wasn't there?
Yeah, I saw.
It's a dangerous old. It's a dangerous old game.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
But
some of the I watched the video. Some of the terrain there in Saudi looked absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Right. Well, we better go anyway. Let's have some dinner. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're glad. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. It was like worked out really well tonight. And Jeff's obviously, and I thought the story he told us. I'm glad I asked him to tell it again.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story. I think with the blind child, so kept in touch with him after sort of 30 years.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely.
Really good. Well, I don't know who's next, Dave, but we keep trying to get some people on where we're all in lockdown still. It cheers people up. It cheers me up to do it. I don't know about you, Dave.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's nice about this time of the year. This year, is we're not plugging the 1st of February to get your entries in.
Oh yeah, that's everyone sat in front of their computers.
It's been absolutely joyous not having to constantly pump that and worry about entries. And to be honest, it was, for me personally, it was nice not to do last year. It was nice to have a break.
Yeah, I think it recharges. It's a bit like Glastonbury, isn't it? They have a break every 5 years. I just think it's to recharge everyone's batteries. It's almost you could do it, I don't know, every 10 years, have a break or whatever.
The only downside is none of us getting any younger. So
no,
to have a year out is a long time. When you're young, it's not so bad. But
the next generation, isn't it? Like the Chad Reeds and that, and like he's 38 now, and there'd be the sort of next generation of riders.
Absolutely. My lips are sealed.
Yeah. Don't know anybody else. Oh, you can't say. Yeah, well, watch this space anyway, people. Thanks for watching. We keep saying this and we're still on. We love it. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.
Cheers, Adam.
Cheers, Dave. All the best.